Three-time Super Bowl champ Julian Edelman is hanging it up after 12 seasons with the Patriots. In a video posted to social media, Edelman said, quote, "I've always said I'll go until the wheels come off, and they finally have fallen off." Tom Brady posted a heartfelt message on Instagram telling Edelman he always, quote, "shined the most in the playoffs." Edelman finished his career with a Super Bowl MVP, and he ranks second in NFL history with 118 postseason receptions, trailing only Jerry Rice here. So, Shannon, should he get any Hall of Fame consideration?
Skip, you know I hate doing this, Skip. You know I do it.
I do.
Because it put me in a very uncomfortable spot because I'm in the Hall of Fame, and then everybody go pick this up. Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp says Julian Edelman doesn't belong. But he doesn't.
Okay, you will not be alone, because I'm going to guess if we polled every living Hall of Famer, they'd all say no. That's what I believe.
Skip, look, I understand Julian Edelman has had a great career. He's phenomenal to be a college quarterback, selected, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the 7th round, and to be able to use every gift that he was given to maximize his God-given ability and become an NFL player, to win 3 Super Bowls, to be a Super Bowl MVP is something that we should commend. But to go to the Hall of Fame, the Mecca, the heaven for athletes, for football players in the NFL, Skip, that club should be very, very reserved. Skip, Julian Edelman has never been thought of as a top 10 or top 15 receiver. He's never made a Pro Bowl.
Nope.
He's never been a first-team All-Pro, a second-team All-Pro.
Yep.
I just don't. I mean, it doesn't add up. And I think in order, you got to make at least 1 Pro Bowl to even get on the ballot for a Hall of Fame. You got to make at least 1 Pro Bowl.
Okay.
Skip, look. I mean, there are so many guys. You look at Hines Ward. Hines Ward can't get. He got 1,000 catches.
Yep.
Wes Walker got over 900 catches.
Yep.
My brother got just as many catches in 6, 7 fewer years. Skip, look.
Like I said, would be in the Hall of Fame if his career hadn't gotten cut.
Skip, I look. No, to make a long story short and a short story long, I do not believe what he's done, because it's too many guys. The list is too long when it comes to receivers and his numbers just don't match up. You got to be, Skip, you got to be great, not just in the playoffs. You got to be great in the regular season also. And I just don't think his body of work is compelling enough to say, it's okay, Julian Edelman is one of the top. I mean, by the time he's eligible, probably be 400 guys in.
Yep.
Of the 26,000 men, Julian Edelman's one of the 400 best. I just don't believe that's the case.
Okay, I'm going to go on record before I unleash on this. There is no way Julian Edelman ever makes it into the Hall of Fame. It is over and done. Will not happen.
You feel comfortable saying that?
I do. Because I have a pretty good feel for the voters, and they will be right in line with every point you just made. They will start with 0 Pro Bowls, and that will pretty much end the conversation.
Yes.
But there is a case to be made for this man. And I'm going to make it here just to demonstrate how strong his postseason case is, because it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
In fact, it's shockingly strong. It is the outlier case. It breaks all of my rules. I'm much more strict about the Hall of Fame than you are, because you're in it. A lot of times you sit back and say, well, yeah, it's okay.
Right.
Because you don't want to look like the old curmudgeon.
I'm trying to keep everybody.
You don't want to be the grumpy old man in the Hall of Fame and say, no, they don't belong. I'm in it. They don't.
Right.
They're not me.
Exactly.
And I'm usually the guy who says that there are 2 halls. There's the Hall of Fame and there's the Hall of Very Good.
Right.
And usually you'd say a Julian Edelman is a candidate for the Hall of Very Good, but only a candidate for that.
Right.
But he has broken all of my Hall of Fame rules. What's my #1 rule? If I have to think twice about you, you are not in my Hall of Fame. I'm talking about if I say Tom Brady, well, you just say, yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like, you don't have to think twice.
Right.
But I can throw a lot of other quarterbacks out there. Right. Phillip Rivers. If I pause for a second, I'm a no.
Right.
But you can make a strong case Phillip Rivers belongs to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But he has what to show for it? Okay. So now we're back to Julian Edelman. let's start with what Bill Belichick said yesterday, the statement he released, because it was gushing like I'd never heard this coach ever gush about any player this side of Lawrence Taylor.
Right.
Seriously. Now, you can say he did this to undermine and undercut Tom Brady, who's now a Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl champ. But Bill Belichick said yesterday, few players can match Julian's achievements, period. But considering his professional trajectory and longevity, the group is even more select. It is historic. In the biggest games and moments, with championships at stake, he reached even greater heights and delivered some of his best, most thrilling performances. That is very, very true.
Right.
This is gushing from Bill Belichick, and you have a lot more respect for Bill than I do. Okay, what do we know about Julian Edelman in the postseason? Well, he's second to Jerry Rice in every category. Okay, what do we know about Jerry Rice? Well, he's the go-to receivers. Most people, I don't agree with that because I'm a Michael Irvin fan, but most people concur. You concur. He is the go-to receiver.
Yes.
Okay, Jerry Rice played 29 postseason games to Julian's 19, so he played 10 more games. But Julian is second in every, the catches and yards categories, but it's per game.
Right.
Wait a second. Julian's at 76 yards a game in the postseason in those 19, while Jerry's at 77 yards a game in his 29 games. Okay. Catches per game in the postseason. Julian's got 6 a game. Jerry had 5 a game. Okay. So you got to say those numbers alone would tell you, well, he's kind of right there. He's at least in the stratosphere with Jerry Rice in the postseason, right? Okay. Let's go to Super Bowls. Let's go to 3 Super Bowls that were very close games, right? All of them down to the wire. In the first one against Seattle, Legion of Boom, we've talked about it. He had 12 targets in that game and caught 9 for 109, including what became the game-winning touchdown pass. I know it happened with 2 minutes left, and then you know the rest of the story.
But Skip, it was the play that he got concussed, though. Remember, he got hit by Cam, and he kept going.
He kept going. And that was after this. I mean, I thought he was out of the game, and today he would have been out of that game, I'm pretty sure, right? Then we get to the Atlanta comeback Super Bowl, and he gets 13 targets. He catches 5 for 87. Not quite as great, but he made the catch of catches. His signature catch is the one he caught off this.
Yeah, it got tipped, almost got intercepted.
Now, here we go. Up, and you can say he saved Brady's bacon there with that catch.
That probably would have ended the game.
It could have. It well could have. So he made the catch of catches in that game, and then he comes back against the Rams in one of the worst offensive Super Bowls in the history of the game. And he gets 12 targets and catches 10 for 141, and that qualifies him to be the MVP of that Super Bowl. Okay, so that's 24 catches for 337 yards in 3 very close down-to-the-wire Super Bowl games. That's an average of 8 catches for 112 in 3 Super Bowls. Okay, this brings me to Lynn Swann. He finally got in the Hall of Fame. It took him 14 tries to get in the Hall of Fame. I used to live in the Lynn Swann debate on ESPN in my early years. And you know Lynn probably a little bit.
I do.
Okay. And he was, for our younger audience, he was a great receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He was kind of like Odell before Odell. He was making those acrobatic.
He was the circus catch king. And yet he was, on the opposite side of that formation was John Stallworth, who's also a Hall of Famer. And it was a running football team featuring our man Terry Bradshaw handing off to Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier.
Who were both in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
They're both in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so we get that. But how did Lynn finally get in? What case did he have to make in the Hall of Fame? He had a Super Bowl case because he made catches of catches in the Super Bowl twice against my Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowls 10 and 13. He made all-time circus catches where I just said, how did you do that? Right? Okay, and it finally qualified him to get in. I don't know why it took him so long. We used to go back and forth. Is it because he, right out of pro football, he became a big TV star because he became an announcer?
Well, I think also, Skip, what guys, you have to be careful now. Because what they were doing is that they were comparing Lynn's numbers. What he had, I think he had 300 catches, and you're trying to modernize them. Well, you can't do that. They throw the ball far too much now. So now, Skip...
Because if I do Julian versus Lynn in the regular season, it's Julian all day. Okay? I got it.
So you got to compare those guys to the era in which they played in. So you got to compare Julian to the era in which he played in. How was Julian, he came in 2010, 2009?
Yeah, what's he up to? Well,
11 years?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you say his 11-year stretch, would you name, I mean, because you got Megatron, and you got Reggie Wayne, and you got D-Hop, and you got Larry Fitzgerald. You got all these guys. You got Julio Jones. You got all these guys in that era. And it's hard for me to say Julian is better than any of those guys.
Okay, I get that, because you can't. If you do it like in a combine in your mind, the first, let's just talk about the white elephant in the room.
Right.
He's just a little white guy, and it's just your mind won't go there.
Right.
Like little white receivers don't get in the Hall of Fame.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, maybe the last one was Steve Largent. You got to go back to like 1990. I think the last white receiver to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And he caught a bunch of balls.
He caught a bunch of balls. Yes. He's one of the few that's the first ballot. I think there's only been like 5 or 6 receivers that's gotten in on the first ballot.
Yeah. Okay, so the first time I became acutely aware of Julian Edelman's impact came in 2016.